Babylon 5: The Road Home is a resurrection of what many thought was a long-dead franchise. B5 was one of the great space operas of the 1990s. It was never as popular as Star Trek, but it was highly influential. It pioneered long-term story arcs at a time when everything else was much more episodic. B5 was set on a kind of interstellar United Nations. It took us on a 5-year journey through the rise and fall of galactic empires and philosophical battles over the fate of the galaxy. The characters were deep and complicated. They could easily shift from hero to villain and back again. The show also pioneered CGI on television. It showcased what, at the time, were some pretty epic space battles. Now it's back, in animated form. So what's it all about? Well, we kick off on Babylon 5, as series stalwart President John Sheridan bids his final farewell as he heads off to lead the Interstellar Alliance on the planet Mimbar. That places us a bit after the major events of B5's final season. Shortly after arriving at his new home, Sheridan is whisked off to a ribbon-cutting event at a power plant. The inciting incident of the story is explained with a bunch of technobabble.
What's the damned energy source? Tachyons. Oh, crap.
And Sheridan gets zapped out of phase with time and space. He revisits past and future events from the series in alternate timelines where things turned out a bit differently. Can Sheridan get back where he belongs? Or will he become permanently unstuck in time? Now first off, this is definitely one for the long-term fans. Anyone new to B5 will be completely lost. Little to no effort is made to explain any of the characters or situations in a way that is remotely comprehensible to the uninitiated. Now, maybe this was the right call. B5 was always a cult show, and this is far removed from its heyday. It's a dedicated few who are likely to seek this one out. And for long-term fans, there's plenty to like, even if it's mostly the comforting familiarity of a trip down memory lane. There's some pretty deep cuts for the truly dedicated. The time travel stuff stems from the events of fan-favorite episode Babylon Squared. And one of the alternate universes is a fleshed-out version of a dropped plot thread from Season 3. For the most part, the characters still feel like themselves. For me, a big part of Sheridan's appeal was that he had this slightly quirky, avuncular quality, while still being believable as a noble leader people would actually follow. That's still the case here. It's good fun seeing him spoof his way through a boring speech he doesn't want to deliver. And later we get to see his other side, persuading people he's never met to trust him with their lives. Bruce Boxleitner slips back into the role with ease. There's also some fun moments with Ivanova and Londo. One scene has them on a rooftop bar on a planet that's about to blow up. It feels appropriate that they be sipping wine and making deadpan jokes. But The Road Home is not without its shortcomings. With half the original cast sadly passed away, there's a lot of stand-ins. Some sound jarringly different. Jakar comes off worst of all. Actor Andreas Katsoulas had a very specific delivery.
What happened? Run out of small children to butcher?
Let him go! If he wants to die, let him. Listen to me, Ambassador. Your time is come and gone. It's our turn now. One night you'll wake up and find our teeth at your throat. Sleep well, Ambassador. Sleep lightly.
His replacement is pretty flat by comparison.
He is as I am, as we are, and we wished to meet you at the rim.
As for the story itself, while it's an enjoyable ride and some effort is made to make it feel epic at times, it ultimately comes across as a bit insubstantial. The problem I have with multiverses is that it lowers the stakes rather than expands them. It's impossible to care about the fate of billions of inhabitants of an infinity of alternate dimensions. It's all too big and too abstract. That really leaves us caring only about Sheridan, the person we know and the person we have a history with. The whole thing also wraps up with a surprisingly saccharine ending, as our hero is saved by the power of love. Here too, the road home falters. Straczynski's original series was a space opera, with the emphasis on the opera. The dialogue was often a bit grandiose and a bit preposterous. But he was lucky enough to have a talented roster of actors who were capable of giving big performances and making it work. That same style delivered by less emotive animations lays bare its shortcomings. Some of it is cringe-makingly corny.
You're my universe. The brightest star in my sky. I love you.
Beyond the central message of love conquering all, we're left to ruminate on the what-ifs of history. How a small change, an action or an inaction, can have massive consequences. This movie comes ahead of a much-anticipated reboot. It isn't clear whether this is directly connected, but it does offer one tantalizing possibility at the end. After Sheridan's story is resolved, we remain on an alternate Babylon 5. In this world, the Shadows, the big antagonist of the series, never awoke to threaten the universe. So, without the show's central conflict, it's pretty clear that things would play out very differently between the major characters and the entire galactic political situation. It opens up a lot of possibilities and will allow for a very fresh take on the show, without the need to wholly reinvent the elements that worked so well the first time around. As a whole, Babylon 5: The Road Home is definitely one for the hardcore fans of the original. If you're new to all this, start somewhere else. The TV movie In the Beginning offers a much better intro to the B5 universe. But if you're an old fan still keeping the flame alive for B5, definitely check it out. Keep your expectations modest, and you'll have a good time. That's all for this one. I'm new to this YouTube stuff, so let me know your feedback in the comments. And tell me, what do you want to see in the reboot? And how would the show work without the Shadow War? That's all for now. Till next time, I'll be seeing ya.